Moving on to the next question, Mr. Miller. For decades, we have put all of our eggs in one basket, so to say, regarding TVA and Bellefonte, only to be disappointed time after time. What makes you think the potential sale of Bellefonte will change the area?
I guess the sale depends on who buys it and what comes in that place. If someone wants to purchase it and then leave it empty, then it benefits us absolutely nothing. If someone wants to come in and add additional power, then that'll help us out with jobs and with power. So I guess it really depends on who's coming in, who's going to purchase it, what are they going to do with it. Now, at the same time, I think we've held our own without having TVA. It's never worked. It's never really benefited us at a great deal. So we can't rely on TVA. We actually have to go out and be independent of TVA. That is why I've been working on the projects that I've been working on to increase our tourism, add the additional jobs through other industry, and then also adding the commercial and retail establishments. We have to be self-sufficient. We have to be independent from all of these additional people. If it comes in, then that's incredible, great. If something positive comes out of it, we're able to take that additional money and then reinvest it in the city to add from there.
Thank you. Mr. Shelton, again, the same question. For decades, we've put all our eggs in one basket regarding TVA and Bellefonte, only to be disappointed. What makes you think this potential sale will change our area?
Well, I guess as the old saying goes, proof's in the pudding. I don't think we need to, if something happens, that's great and wonderful, but I think that would be a windfall if it did happen. I think one of the things that I said early on is that with Google locating in the county, we have to look at our curb appeal and what we can do to entice people moving in with Google, whatever their job capacity is there, to want to locate in Scottsboro. I said early on in one setting that within the city limits of Scottsboro, we've got 240 residential lots that are waterfront lots that are potential development. If we can do some things to entice people to want to develop these waterfront lots, our tax base automatically goes up. There's not many homes that are not sitting on the Tennessee River or Roseberry that are $150,000 and $200,000 homes. They're $500 million homes. So I think we have to look at our curb appeal to try to attract the Google families, if you will. I think we have to look at our infrastructure, but we have to, it comes back to planning. I think the city has done a very good job of utilizing the tax dollars that come in. I think our tax revenue is up this past year, which is a good thing for the economy and shows that the local merchants are offering a good product and consumers are buying. But I think we have to, as the CDA does recruit industry and the council and the mayor, I think we have to look at ways to continue to bring the industry and the businesses in to build that tax base.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. You have 1 minute to offer a rebuttal if you'd like.
I don't want to waste any more time talking about Bellefonte and TVA because that's basically, we can't rely on that. But what I will talk about is working with TVA. We need to build that relationship up, continue working with them, because in the event that something does come that we can take advantage of, we have that relationship in place. But not only just about Bellefonte, we also need to be focusing on the acreage that we just acquired the long-term lease on. It's TVA property. The walking trail that we'd love to put up, I've got plans on doing a walking trail along the ridge there by the river that would tie directly in with that parking lot. That's TVA owned property. So we have to get their permission to go in and actually even, take a rake to it. So building up that relationship with TVA so that we can build up additional waterfront property in Scottsboro and have the ability to recruit additional, whether it be marathons, tournaments, or whatever. So that's what I would mainly focus on.
The next question, Mr. Shelton, you will be addressing this first. How can we improve our perception locally in other areas that we aren't 20 years behind the other cities and counties?
Would you repeat that?
Yes, sir. How can we improve our perception locally and in other areas that Scottsboro isn't 20 years behind other cities and counties?
Well, we have to do a pretty cold, hard self-examination what we are and what we're offering as a city. I think as city leaders, we have to look at what we're offering, and it starts with curb appeal. If we're wanting to sell our city, we have to sell it to our citizens first, and they have to buy in on our beautification efforts, our litter control, recycling efforts. So we have to start growing from within if we're going to expect to grow from people on the outside. I hate to compare us to Gunnersville, but I've talked to Mayor Dollar a couple of times in their beautification efforts, and everybody wants to compare us to Gunnersville, even though we're different, but we are both on the water. You know, it's very attractive. They do have a horticulturist on staff. They've dedicated the resources to having somebody on staff that's their focus. So I think we have to look at what our priorities are, look at ourselves as we promote and try to grow.
Thank you. Mr. Law posed that question, restated in the same way. How can we improve our perception locally and in other areas that Scottsboro isn't 20 years behind other cities and counties?
Well, actually, I spoke with Mayor Dollar also. I was at a conference in May. Ran into her and we had a conversation, and at the time she hadn't decided that she was going to run for re-election. I'd already announced. And so I told her that she just better get ready. If I win, she's going to have a pretty strong opponent to deal with, because we're going to go after everything that they've gone after. We're going to do it better than they have. As far as how do we kind of project that image that we aren't behind, we have to work on. There's a lot of key things that we've been lacking, that we haven't been addressing. People haven't been taking their time to necessarily work on to make this a more attractive city. Basically, we have zoning issues. We have relationship issues with other elected leaders, county leaders, and things such as that. We also have events that we need to increase. We need to increase our recreation. We need to work on our building code. We need to work on our permitting. You know, you go talk to a contractor, and the first thing they tell you is Scottsboro is a no-build city. No one wants to build within the city limits of Scottsboro. They don't want to build a house. They don't want to build a business. We have current people out building businesses now who come to us and say, this is the last one. I'm done after this. And those are things that the administration has to be able to get a handle on and be able to rein that in and look at that with a microscope and basically say, these are our problems. And it may not necessarily be our building code. It may be the implementation of the building code. But all of that we need to sit down and address those issues so that we can kind of, I guess, stick a pin in the problem and then go to work to solving the issues. And there's several more that I could work on listing if I had a little additional time. JP's holding that up to kind of be quiet. But anyway, some of those things basically that need to be addressed so that the other people outside looking in, they want to come here, they want to build, they want to build.
Thank you. Mr. Shelton, you'll have a minute for
I guess in defense of the building inspectors, sometimes, and I've talked to them numerous times, I know there is the city has already purchased the new building code manuals, but current administration, council, whomever decided this was not the time during the election year to change the standards. But sometimes I feel like that our employees get a bad rap because you've got a contractor that may be crossways with the homeowner, and it's easy to point fingers at the building inspector and say they wouldn't let them do this or do that. Our permits are a lot cheaper than they are Madison City, Huntsville City, as far as anything somebody wishes to do here. Yes, I've sat in on some various board meetings, and sometimes I scratch my head why the builder wanted to expand or build didn't get their variance. And sometimes I think we don't. It comes back to communication. Do a good job of communicating because we want to be a builder-friendly city.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Miller, if fishing tourism declines here in an area, how do you specifically make up that loss of revenue?
You have to work on identifying how you can bring additional revenue to the city through tourism. There's a lot of work that I've already been doing to help bring in additional events. I've already met with one of the guys from the Caving Association, who they bring a very large conference in Chattanooga, but we can't handle the capacity that conference brings in. We don't have the hotels for that. We don't have the facilities for that. So we're working on trying to find smaller conferences, other ways that we can bring that in. That would be a week-long event. There's a few other events that I've been working on. I don't want to bring all those out because right now most of them are kind of in their infancy as far as planning. but we have to work on identifying what can we bring in the off-season. We're going to work on the fishing. We're going to keep that. We're going to maintain that. Because right now, if you go to a hotel owner, and I'm not talking about a chain, you go to a hotel owner and you ask them, what happens if fishing tournaments go out? They close their doors. It's to that point. The only thing holding them down is actually the fishing tournaments. So we have to work on identifying additional revenue, additional events that we can capture. That goes all the way to golf tournaments, that goes all the way to events. You know, we can have some type of art event, work with the library to bring in some additional events that they can host. But it all goes to just thinking outside the box, having the ideas and the way to implement those, but also you have to have a relationship with the additional council members to help fund it, and you have to have a relationship with the chamber to help promote it, and you have to have your own common sense to be able to promote it as well.
Thank you. Mr. Shelton, if the fishing tourism declines, how do you specifically propose to make up that loss in revenue?
Well, if you go back, and I hate to keep referring to the Clarion since they're not a sponsor here tonight, but there was one of those questions in the Clarion, and I think we have to look, we have more caves here in Jackson County than anywhere in the world. So I think we have to look at the spelunkers and their association and promote that. I think we're doing work with Veterans Field, and we've got Bynum soccer complex that's never hosted a tournament in the past few years. So we have to continue to bring in the tourism dollars that are associated with recreation. I think it comes back to also working extremely closely with the Goose Pond Board and having more events there. I've had people ask me about outdoor concerts at Goose Pond, utilizing the amphitheater or other things. Some people have suggested on the far end of Goose Pond maybe having a dirt track for motorbike racing or go-kart racing or something like that. So I think we have to think outside the box, as Mr. Miller said, and bring in additional revenue, something that appeals to all different age groups. Downtown, like I said, once we need some more outdoor concerts. I proposed in that article possibly an arts and crafts fair at Caldwell Park in the springtime, not just Arts Sunday, Labor Day weekend. So it comes back to communication, comes back to looking at where we're allocating our money and not duplicate resources, and good communication with the chamber and the Goose Pond Board, because they're both should be actively recruiting outdoor events.
Mr. Miller, your chance for rebuttal.
I had a job where I worked as an aerial surveyor for about 3 years. I traveled approximately 47 states while I was working for that job, some in Canada, some in Mexico. And we don't fly into the Huntsvilles, we don't fly into Atlantas. We had a very small Cessna Grand Caravan, short plane. So we like to fly into places just like Scottsboro. And one of the places that I went to was out in West Texas. They had more to offer than Scottsboro offered, and it was about half the size in the middle of the desert. I think that's shameful. We have to continue working on additional events, whether it be tournaments, whether it be having a film festival, whether it be the Spelunking Convention, anything along those lines. I've seen what these other cities are offering, I've seen what they have, and I know what we're lacking, and I know how to fix that.
Okay, next question. Ms. Shelton, you'll be presenting this question first. Is Scottsboro we see today going to be the same Scottsboro we see in 10 years?
I don't believe so. It's not what we saw 10 years, well, it may be what we saw 10 years ago. I hope it's not. I hope that we can see some growth. I feel strongly that we will see growth. Huntsville continues to expand. I know I've talked to some realtors that live in Scottsboro and work in Huntsville, and they are actively recruiting residents to move to Scottsboro, obviously trying to sell housing. I think with Google, it's going to have an impact. I think it will affect our school system, and I think it'll impact our business community. I hope it impacts our industrial park as well. So but will we be the same? No. One of the things that we have to look at as we look 10 years down the road, and we should have a 5 and a 10-year plan, is our courthouse square is going to be 10 years older, and the buildings are going to be 10 years older. So we have to plan. We have to have a plan, And, it's all about communication and planning.
Mr. Miller, what do you see Scottsboro being in 10 years? What the same?
I hope not. I want it to grow. I think everyone wants it to grow. My graduating class was stronger than the recent graduating classes that we've had, and that's 20 years ago. So we have to work on trying to find a solution, which means sitting down with myself, the chamber, myself, the council, myself, and the county, and state legislators, and additional people to try to find a way to be able to generate additional income through revenue, and that would come through the additional business growth. We have to increase our income range, which is going to mean additional jobs. We want every job range. We want to increase every one of those ranges. But what's going to happen whenever the students who are currently just getting ready to graduate Scottsboro High School, are they going to come back here? And the answer is most likely no, they're not, unless there is some specific tie that's going to hold them here. So basically, if we can get the communication together, if we can work on identifying the problem, I don't think it's going to be where we're at 10 years from now. I hope it's going to be much more profitable for the city. I hope there's going to be much more amenities as far as recreation ability, as far as, I'd love to see a Cracker Barrel just like anyone else. I'd love to have a Chick-fil-A right down the street just like anyone else. I'd love to have Marshalls. I guarantee you we'll work on that stuff. We will work on those things. But it basically has to start with my relationship with the chamber, mine with the county, and mine with the delegation, and all the business leaders who make that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Your rebuttal, be so pleased.
I think it goes back to planning. The city of Scottsboro currently, and I'm not knocking water, sewer, gas, but there's still residents in the city of Scottsboro that doesn't have city sewer. So I think we have to look at our subdivisions and have a defined growth pattern. I don't, in the foreseeable future, see Scottsboro expanding the city limits. I kid some of my workers that live in Boxes Cove that we're going to annex Boxes Cove just to get some more tax revenue. But I don't see us expanding our city limits in the immediate future. That's a council decision as well. I think we have to plan strategically. I think we have to look at our subdivision restrictions. I think there's some things that are not practical if we want to expand our existing subdivisions. I think they have been handicapped with future expansion on some rules that have been put in place. And if we're wanting to grow and expand in the next 10 years with Google or whomever, we have to look at what's within the borders of the city limits right now.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, numbers clearly indicate declining economic and population numbers in our area. What can you do as mayor to help turn this trend around?
So I should have saved my graduating comment for this question. It has gone down. It's obvious that it's gone down. Finding a way to be able to keep the people in Scottsboro is the only thing that's going to turn that around, as well as, it goes back to one of the previous questions, how are we perceived outside of Scottsboro and Jackson County? Do people want to come here? There's very limited things within the city that people come to Scottsboro for. So they don't just throw a dart and hit Scottsboro and come here. They may be located here through a company, they may have a relative here, they may have grown up here and then chosen to come back and live here. So we have to work to identify, and that goes back to every single question that we've already been discussing. We have to work to identify how do we increase the ability for those people to come back? How do we add the job market for those people to come back? If we don't have the jobs, we're going to continue to dwindle. That's just a simple fact. If we don't have the ability for those people to go get a job and go work and provide a decent atmosphere for their families, then people are not going to move here unless they either want to come here to retire and settle down, or if they want to come here, or if they're getting located here through another means, through a job or an industry.
Thank you. Ms. Shelton, regarding those declining economic and population numbers, what do you see that you could do to help turn those around?
Well, the defense industry is sitting in our back door, so to speak. And I feel like as we continue to recruit, we have to look at the defense industry, the subcontractors there, and see what we can lure to our area. I have a daughter-in-law that's the vice president with one of the subcontractors. And I think there's opportunities there if we aggressively recruit people associated with the defense industry. I think we have to look at that Google and the technology and the offshoot of that. We have to see what we can do to be ready and hope that we can be, it comes back to Kirkville and have our infrastructure in place that we can attract those people and those companies that want to locate here. I heard Tommy Battle speak at Rotary a while back, and the thing that drew Remington and another company there, I drew a blank, sorry, but was their infrastructure was in place. And they talked about how many counties they pulled from and the workforce that was available. So I think we have to take care of our infrastructure as we want to grow our workforce and our attracting industry.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, your rebuttal, please.
We can't rely solely on Google. We have to work with Google. We have to take every opportunity that Google is providing, but we can't rely solely on them coming to Scottsboro or Jackson County. Now, we'll absolutely work with everyone who wants to come in as a spinoff to Google, and we should, and we'll do what we can to get them here. I was also at the same meeting with the Mayor Battle as he spoke, and not only did he talk about infrastructure, but he also talked about quality of life. If we don't have a quality of life, these people will not come here. That will not happen. So we have to build up that quality of life, and that goes down to whether we have the recreation, whether we have the arts events, the libraries, and things such as that these people are looking for, the entertainment districts, the events, and everything that goes along with quality of life. They're all looking for, and that is the only thing that will maintain them in Scottsboro.
Thank you. And funny thing, you should mention Google. Mr. Shelton, the county government is in serious financial trouble, and there appears to be no light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon, especially with the Google project still years away from being completed. Should the city work with the county to try to help alleviate these problems?
Well, I've stated before, I think the city has its own debt load that it has to deal with, and I understand the county has its own debt load that they have to deal with. We have to work together as we recruit industry. I'm opposed to a 1 cent sales tax increase. I've talked to many citizens that feel the same way. I want to work with them. I'm not sold as a citizen of Jackson County that every rock has been turned over as far as a source of revenue for the county government. I've not been sold on that yet, and I don't think that the people have. But I want to work with them. I have ideas, but the city has to take care of itself. We just acquired a $3 million bond issue for the 4 projects slated. I think in the next 5 to 7 years, the landfill that the city and county use is facing an expansion there. The city has numerous vehicles, whether it's in the street department, sanitation department, police department, wherever, that are many years old. There was a report the other night with the council about replacing some of the sanitation trucks, and you know, $81,000 spent on repair of 2 vehicles in 1 year. So we have to work with the county. I feel like City Hall needs to stay separate from the county commission and county commissioners. We have to take care of our problems and our employees because we have a lot that we have to worry about ourselves.
Mr. Miller, with the county government in serious financial trouble and without very much hope of Google being the rescuer right now, should the city work with the county to try to help alleviate those problems?
The city is already working with the county. A lot of people may not necessarily see that, but next Wednesday we have a budget hearing. I invite you to attend it. You can hear exactly what we're doing to help fund, not specifically the county, but other organizations that rely on funding from the county. When we worked on our budget cycle last year, we had multiple organizations come to us and say, the county cut us, the county cut us, the county cut us. Will you help us? We had multiple organizations coming and asking for $10,000 here, $1,000 here, $2,000 here. The library got cut. They needed some maintenance done. So, believe it or not, it affects the city. It affects me, it affects you. We are paying for that already. You may just not notice it, you may just not see it, but if you start connecting it, we're already doing that. The Council on Aging recently purchased a bus. We helped pay the money. We provided the matching portion to purchase that bus. So we're already doing these things. It's just, you may not necessarily see that. Now, do we need to go out and start handing them $1 million left and right? Absolutely not, no. But we do have to work with the county, and if we have separation is seen all the way outside this county, all the way outside the state. If you are an industry and you're looking to come to Scottsboro and you hear the word separation, you probably don't want to come to Jackson County because you don't know what that relationship is like. So we can't worry about separation. We have to work with them. We have to continue working with them to build up those relationships so that in the end, we can actually have a productive county and a productive city. If we're able to have both of those together, then I think that we don't have to rely on Google. We don't have to rely on Bellefonte. We can take care of these things ourselves, but only if we're working together.
Thank you. Mr. Shelton, do you have to offer a rebuttal?
I agree that we have to work with them. I don't see separation except in how we deal with our money. The city, for several years, has always appropriated to agencies that serve county and city residents. Council on Aging bus that the city's helping fund is for the Scottsboro route, and I commend them for doing that. So we will always continue to support the rescue squad, people that have had funding cut out from the county. The city supports them. Yes, we have city residents that work in the county, county residents that work in the city. If you had to break down my business alone, probably 60% of our business comes from county residents. So we have to work together, but as governments, we have to maintain our funding and worry about our funding as well as the county managing their budget and working within their means as well.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, the number of people on disability is rising in Jackson County and will soon equal or exceed the amount of employed here. What are your thoughts on this issue?
Do I get a 30-second rebuttal? Or 1 minute? Or was that his rebuttal?
No, that was his.
Repeat
No,
the
that was
question.
his rebuttal.
Yeah, that was his. We're on to the next question. All right, I don't think
I was prepared for a rebuttal.
Okay. Yeah, this is the next question. The number of people on disability is rising in Jackson County and will soon equal or exceed the amount employed here. What are your thoughts on this issue?
And now repeat the question. Now that I'm focused.
Okay. All right. The number of people on disability is rising in Jackson County and will soon equal or exceed the amount employed here in Jackson County. What are your thoughts?
I'm sure you did write the question, but can you define the disability?
I would say disability unemployment.
Just any assistance?
Yes.
Maybe.
Address it that way.
All right, I'll address it that way. I guess a lot of that depends on where that assistance is coming from. Is it coming from the state? Is it coming from the federal level? What are the criteria for receiving that assistance? A lot of times that criteria increases. You actually have thresholds that are raised, thresholds that are lowered, and so some of that could be from the federal government that we actually have no control over. So some of that will increase. However, to be able to step in and provide means such as the Council on Aging, to provide other abilities such as the Impact Learning Center, the NACC does a great job with helping assist that. We have to work on our continued education. A lot of those people who receive those funds are basically, a lot of them have got cut recently with the county. One of those organizations is the ART. It's my understanding that they're closing their operation to make the buttons and things such as that because they don't have the funding. They've been cut. So therefore, there's a certain amount of people who are now out of work. Now there's a lot of people who are still going to work at different little places and fast food places. However, we have to work on trying to find a way to maintain those things, keep those in place. Of course, a lot of it comes down to funding. If they're going to be cut, such as the Impact, if they're going to be cut, like the ARC, then basically you have to build that funding back up or work on trying to find additional means to be able to provide those people with a source of income.
Thank you. Mr. Shelton, the number of people on disability is rising in Jackson County and will soon equal or exceed the amount of employed here. What are your thoughts on the issue?
Well, I sort of like Mr. Miller think that when we're talking about disability, we're probably looking at unemployment as well. think a lot of people want to work because they can make more money based on what the federal government's going to give them than what they can earn in a day's wages. So I think from the federal level, they have changed the mindset somewhat. I believe, and I've seen it going door to door, there's some people that just don't want to work that I would venture to say are able to work. So I commend those that go out and earn a day's pay each and every day. Our school systems have been strapped with the ADA Act and funding that goes towards that, and I understand every child has a right to learn. But as a city, I think what we have to do is we have to work with our school system. I've said it earlier in another setting. I think we have to impact the child at an early age and develop a work ethic, whether it's through extracurricular activities, whether it's through sports, scouts, whatever it is. We have to get the kids engaged at an early age, get them involved, and by doing so, I think they improve their work ethic and they understand what it is. I think we can talk to our educators, the teachers. They understand probably better than a lot of people about work ethic and broken homes and how it impacts children and their learning. But I think it starts at an early age of changing that trend and that curve and working with our school system that impact learning center.
Thank you. Mr. Merrill, now it's your turn for the rebuttal.
2 minutes.
One.
Way back there.
It's 1 minute rebuttal. 2 minute question, 1 minute rebuttal.
Sorry, that's okay. I'm a little off now. Well, I think people want to work. I don't necessarily think that they don't want to work. I think they want to work. I just think we need to work on a way to be able to provide them the ability to work. When I was out going door to door, I knocked on the door of one house, and the gentleman opened the door, and he told me, he said, he had this disability. He wanted to go to work, and multiple people had told him no, that he can't get a job. Well, as I was getting ready to leave, he said, you know what? He said, go ahead and put a sign up in my yard. He said, because now I do have a job. He said, your father hired me, and no one else would hire me. He said, so go ahead and put that sign up. So I think people want to work. It's just we have to find a way to be able to make that available to them.
Thank you, gentlemen. This concludes our questions for the candidates. We will now give each candidate 3 minutes to speak with voters of Scottsboro. And we're going to begin with candidate number 2, Mr. Shelton.
Well, once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out and our Channel 10 audience that hopefully will look at this in the days ahead, and Greg and Brad and everybody involved in putting this forum on and debate on. It's been a hard campaign, a serious campaign. We're soon to approach the 10th month of this election process. My family and I put our heart and soul in it. I'm convicted. I feel like I'm the best candidate. I'm the most well-rounded, the most educated. I think life experiences say a lot. I think accountability says a lot, and how you live your life in public and in private. I think accountability starts at an early age. As parents, as we raise our children, we try to instill accountability to them, and everybody's held accountable for their actions. And then we hope and pray as they get older, that carries over into their life and then when they start their families. So I think accountability goes a long ways. I think it says a lot about how you treat your employees and how you represent the city, and how you recruit industry. In closing, on August 23rd, there was a little over 2,000 people that voted for either me or Mr. Joe Young. They saw something different in either one of us than they did my opponent. And I humbly ask for those 2,000 to go out next Tuesday, October the 4th, and vote for me, Robin Shelton, for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Miller, you'll have 3 minutes to speak to voters of Scottsboro.
I actually think that comment works both ways. There's the other half of the people who saw something they didn't like. So, you can spend that however you choose to spend it. But accountability and integrity, that's a huge, huge, huge thing within the city of Scottsboro. Do we want to continue where we are? I don't think we do. I worked more than 15 years in the retail industry. I had a job where I supervised approximately 200 people, cashiers, baggers. We brought in roughly $50 to $60 million a year. So I had to manage more people than the city has. I had to manage a budget that is higher than what the city has now. So I have that ability. Yes, I'm young. I'm younger. I have the energy, I have the ability, I have the desire, and I have the passion to go get that done. So don't mistake experience over one or the other candidate. I have a lot within the short life that I've had to be able to improve this city with the desire and the passion to be able to bring the jobs to Scottsboro, improve our tourism, improve our revenue stream, and make the people feel safe. We don't want the employees going to work feeling intimidated or bullied as they are out doing their jobs. And that has been time after time done, and we can't continue that. We have to be able to identify with the employees and make sure that they understand that we are on their side, and that I work for them, I work for you. You don't work for me. They don't work for me. They're the ones that pay my salary. Your tax dollars pay my salary. So I think my record, it's an unblemished record the last 4 years. You can, pick and choose what you want and pull out of that. It's strange that the only problem anyone had with me being on the council was just the last couple of months. However, you can take that and you can dissect that the last 4 years as far as you want to, and you will see that I'm the best candidate to lead Scottsboro forward where we want to be. Thank you.
Thank you. We would like to take this time to thank those of you who attended tonight. This is a very important event, and those who have listened to the radio. This entire event was recorded by the Scottsboro Electric Power Board for playback on Channel 10 over the coming days. We want to thank each of our candidates for in both the mayoral race and the board race for their participation, and congratulations for a good dialogue. I think you guys answered questions, and personally, I got a lot out of this, so I know the voters of Scottsboro did as well. We want to encourage you to go out to the polls and vote for candidates you feel will be best to lead your city moving forward, and I think Scottsboro has bright days ahead. So, thank you all for attending. Drive safe and God bless. Thank you.